This is Tracy Slatton of Parvati Press, and today I'm interviewing my husband, classical figurative sculptor Sabin Howard. And I'm interviewing Sabin about a drawing book he's working on. I'm interviewing him not just because he's my husband and I want to support his career, but also because he has thousands of fans and many thousands of followers throughout the world. Many of them are art lovers, and they're very interested in his work, and they want to know how he does it. And Sabin has a kind of a unique knowledge of art and of Renaissance art and how to do Renaissance art so that it's modern and of this moment right now. So I think it's wonderful he's doing a drawing book, and I wanted to talk to him about it. Hi, Sabin.
Hi, how are you?
So tell us, why are you doing a book about drawing? What does drawing have to do with sculpting?
First of all, drawing is basically the foundation for all of the arts that are visual. I began as an artist at 19 by drawing. Drawing is a very expedient way in relation to sculpture, which is one of those art forms that takes a long time to create, that gives an idea very quickly to a viewer and also to the person who's creating the art.
So drawing gives the ideas first? Do you do a drawing before you do a sculpture?
Actually, I had taken a 15-year hiatus from drawing because I was really concentrating on the sculpture. And then I began drawing again in teaching privately, and all of a sudden I realized what I had been missing all these years. I began drawing again, and my design systems that I have incorporated in the sculpture became even more apparent to me.
Can you talk about those design systems?
Yes, very much. The sculpture I do is not real. There's a separation in my mind between the real world and the art world. And the art world is a translation derived from how our mind perceives the real world and translates it into the art world. So the drawing, let's call it disegno from the Renaissance, which was how you compose things proportionally, how you put things together rhythmically, how you made elements pop off the page, how you created meaning, how you created space three-dimensionally on a flat sheet. That was what initially drawing was, until it really took a wrong turn and became something of just scribblings that had very little to do with how the universe is assembled. So what I'm saying very succinctly is that drawing is an example of how divinely constructed and knitted the universe is structured. And so you're dealing with several elements here, not only how it's put together, but also how it's proportioned, and how you have a hierarchy, and how this hierarchy has smaller parts that must fit correctly within a whole. And those are all elements that are very, very important in sculpture, and in drawing they come out very quickly because those are the main tenets of how you begin a piece on a paper.
So I'm hearing that it has to do with design, that there's a hierarchy of parts, that there's rhythm, and there's proportion. Is that how you would put it together, how you'd say it?
Yeah, I'm a figurative artist, first of all. And there are two elements to the figure. There's an architectural part, which is the skeleton. The skeleton is the structure, the framing that everything is built upon. It's the gesture that you look at first. And then there are the muscles, which are more the organic element of the figure. And these are spirals, which actually mimic the way the energy travels through the body. So between these two elements of architecture and organic spiraling energy, those are the two concepts that go into the drawing.
So you have a pretty specialized knowledge. How did you learn this? How did you develop it? And what should art students today do to learn more about this way of seeing and this way of creating art?
There are two sides to, let's call it, the education of an artist. There's the conceptual side, and there's the perceptual side. Perceptual deals with how you perceive things, and it's driven by how much knowledge you have about what you're looking at. And that knowledge is conceptual. It's empirical knowledge, a lot of it, which is, in my case, anatomy, And anatomy is a way of organizing what I see. So it's the grammar of creating the art.
So you think that a young student or a young artist who wants to learn how to be a great figurative artist should first learn anatomy.
Yeah, yeah, and then
And how do they learn how to look at, like you initially started this interview by talking about looking at things, how this art that looks like it's realist is actually abstracted from what the artist sees. So how the artist sees is very important. So how does an artist learn how to see?
well, to answer your first question, what should a young artist be studying? And then the second question is, how should an artist learn how to see? A young student has to learn how to it's a very complex form, how to break down the body into a general way of looking, then you can build the specifics onto. So you need to have a way of taking something that's extremely complex and making it intelligible to your mind, because when you look at a figure, the more you know them, the more information comes at you. So you have to be able to shut down ways of looking and bring up other ways of looking. So you juggle different ways of perception. So the two are intermeshed, and it's not like you do one without doing the other. And your brain is something that is capable of jumping back and forth and doing several acts at once. You just have to know how to control what you are seeing. And that makes it really interesting, because it just shows what an amazing tool we have in the mind. So I just want to continue on this train of thought. So my objective here has always been to, okay, I'm going to create great art, which shows how amazingly divine our mind can see this phenomenal thing, which is us, the human body. And then I'm going to create an art that represents us, the human body, and how amazing the world is, and how amazing we are, and how we've been put together in such a wonderful divine fashion.
Which artists of the past should young art students or art lovers, art students study?
There are three really big time players in this arena, and they all fall within that small band which is called the High Renaissance, which is a very small period of time. So it's Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael, and each of these artists brought to, I guess, the history of the human figure something very specific. Leonardo brought the wonder of nature. Michelangelo brought the observation of the energy within the core of human beings. And Raphael brought the element of how harmonious and graceful the universe is designed.
That's funny to hear you say that, to recommend Raphael, because in our personal discussions, you've bemoaned the fact that Raphael didn't really know his anatomy.
No, well, he didn't. They all had specifics that they were very excellent at or excelled at, and they had other things that were weaknesses.
Like Michelangelo couldn't do women's breasts, for example.
Yes, he was not interested in women. He was interested in something else. So each of those artists, though, for figurative art that followed for the next, I guess, up to the 1920s, were the three streams, and then all the artists that followed were within those streams. The neoclassical period, like Canova, and even Rodin, which is an expressionist, was closer to Michelangelo. So each of those streams carries a different way of perceiving the reality of the human figure or the universe, and how each of those artists assembled the art into art form.
Well, this is all really interesting. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. And where can people find out more about you?
Well, I have a website, which is sabinhoward.com, and on there you can see my sculpture and my drawings. There's a book called The Art of Life.
And now you're working on the drawing book.
Yes, the drawing book will be called Drawing the Foundation of Art.
Well, I look forward to reading it.
Thank you.
That was Sabin Howard speaking with me, Tracy Slatton, about his forthcoming book, Drawing the Foundation of Art.